Ever heard of a battle where one person, sitting in a dark room, controlled the fate of 50 fighter pilots? It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this really happened during World War II in the Pacific. It is the story of how American ingenuity and a revolutionary piece of technology completely changed the game of aerial combat. This is the tale of the Combat Information Center, or CIC, and the incredible events of the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Let's set the scene. It's June 1944. The U.S. Navy is pushing across the Pacific, getting closer and closer to Japan. Their next target is the Mariana Islands, a strategic chain that would put American B-29 bombers within striking distance of Tokyo. The Japanese knew this was a critical fight. They gathered their entire remaining naval strength, a massive fleet built around 9 aircraft carriers, to throw everything they had at the Americans in one decisive battle. They called their plan a go. It was their last, best hope to turn the tide of the war. On the American side, Task Force 58, the most powerful naval force ever assembled, stood ready. They had 15 aircraft carriers, hundreds of warships, and nearly 1,000 aircraft. But the real ace up their sleeve wasn't just the number of planes. It was a small, dark, and crowded room buried deep inside the flagship, the USS Lexington. This was the Combat Information Center. Inside, a brand new, top-secret radar system was humming away, painting a picture of the airspace for hundreds of miles around. This technology was about to be put to the ultimate test. The man at the heart of our story is Lieutenant Joseph R. Joe Egert, a young fighter director officer. His job was to stare at a glowing radar screen, interpret the blips of light, and tell his pilots where to go and what to do. On the morning of June 19th, his screen lit up like a Christmas tree. The first wave of Japanese aircraft was on its way over 60 planes, heading straight for the American fleet. In the old days, this would have been chaotic. Patrols would spot the enemy, radio back, and fighters would scramble in a disorganized rush. But not this time. From the CIC, Egert and his team had a god's eye view. They could see the exact altitude, speed, and heading of the incoming Japanese force. They knew precisely where their own fighters were. Instead of a frantic scramble, it was a carefully orchestrated interception. Egert began calmly vectoring his F6F Hellcat fighters. Vector 270, Angels 20, he'd say, directing his pilots to the perfect position to ambush the enemy. The Hellcat was a beast of a plane, tough, powerful, and heavily armed. Combined with the CIC's guidance, it was absolutely lethal. The Japanese pilots, flying planes like the famous Zero, were skilled and courageous, but they were flying blind. They had no idea that their every move was being tracked. They expected to surprise the American fleet, but instead, they flew right into a perfectly laid trap. A wall of Hellcats, guided by Joe Egert's calm voice, tore into their formations. The results were devastating. One after another, Japanese planes were shot out of the sky before they even saw an American ship. But that was just the beginning. The Japanese sent a second wave, even larger than the first over 120 aircraft. Again, the CIC detected them long before they were a threat. Egert and his team went back to work, managing the complex, three-dimensional ballet of air combat. Imagine the pressure. He was responsible for the lives of dozens of American pilots, and the safety of the entire fleet, all while coordinating a massive furball of planes miles away. He had to keep track of fuel levels, ammunition, and pilot fatigue, all while making split-second decisions. This is where the legend truly begins. At the peak of the battle, Egert was reportedly controlling around 50 Hellcats simultaneously. He was the conductor of a symphony of destruction. He'd see a group of Japanese bombers break through and immediately direct a squadron of fighters to intercept. "Bandits, you're 10 o'clock. Low." His voice would crackle over the radio, guiding his pilots with pinpoint accuracy. The American pilots developed complete trust in their fighter directors. Take height. Them the boys in the know. They knew that the voice in their ear saw everything and would put them in the perfect spot to get a kill. The result of this incredible coordination was one of the most one-sided battles in military history. The Japanese lost over 300 aircraft and 2 aircraft carriers on the first day alone. The American pilots had a field day. One pilot, David McCampbell, became an ace in a single day. The ratio of kills was so lopsided that one American pilot famously remarked, "Why? Hell. This is like an old-time turkey shoot." The name stuck. The Battle of the Philippine Sea would forever be known as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. What made this possible? It was the fusion of man and machine. The radar gave them the information. The Hellcat gave them the firepower. But it was the human element, in the CIC, the calm, professional voice of a director like Joe That brought it all together. He wasn't just a radio operator. He was a battlefield commander, fighting a new kind of war with electrons and radio waves. He and his team proved that superior information was just as important as superior firepower. The Japanese Ago plan was shattered. Their naval air power was effectively wiped out, a blow from which they would never recover. The Mariana Islands were secured, and the path to Japan was now open. The victory was a direct result of this new doctrine of centralized, radar-controlled air defense. While the pilots in the cockpits rightly became heroes, the unsung heroes were the men in the dark, stuffy CIC rooms, turning blips on a screen into a decisive military victory. So, the next time you think about epic battles, remember the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. It wasn't just about dueling pilots in the sky. It was about the quiet, calculated genius of a new way of fighting, masterfully executed by a single operator who for one incredible day controlled a private air force of 50 fighters and changed the course of the war in the Pacific. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most important weapon in a battle isn't a gun or a bomb, but the ability to see the enemy before they see you. Thanks for watching. If you found this piece of history as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about the incredible tech and tactics of warfare. Let me know in the comments what other battles you'd like to see covered. See you next time.